is Cooper Flagg's comp? Is it Scottie Pippen, Kawhi Leonard, Jason Tatum? We went through the comparison article during the 7 o'clock Expressway, and now we have the man who wrote it, Jeremy Woo, ESPN draft analyst here on Shan and RJ 105.3 The Fan. Jeremy, good morning. How are you?
I'm good, man, but probably not as good as you guys are, huh?
Well, you tell us. Yes, right now, initial feelings, yes, but all number one picks are not the same. How excited do you think that Dallas-Fort Worth should be today with the Cooper Flagg probability?
Yeah, no, it's big time. It's big time. I've been here at the Combine all week, and, I think universally everybody's like, wow, what a, incredible sort of turn of events for Dallas. I think Cooper, he stacks up very well when you put him up against a lot of the number one picks in this era of players. Statistically speaking, it was right there with some of the best freshman seasons ever. So when you really kind of like hammer it down, as I did when, I know you read that story, talking about that story that I did, it's sort of the same thing. I was impressed to discover how well he stacks up numbers wise.
Talk to us about his game and some of these comparisons that you wrote about.
Yeah. The biggest thing I think is just the versatility is huge, in the NBA today. Having a guy with his level of versatility who can do a lot of different things on the floor, and who also has, excellent size for his position, right? Like size and versatility is kind of the dream, right? You want players like that, as many of them as you can fit on the court. Like that's kind of the way the NBA has been going. So he's got that. He's incredibly focused and tough, and I think that's something people have always loved about him too, and it helps him be very consistent. And then you get into the comps. It's always tricky to do comps, and you never, whenever you're throwing out like Hall of Famers, it feels a little maybe irresponsible. But I spent some time talking to people around the NBA about this, trying to do it the most responsible way you can. And people have thrown out, Scottie Pippen, like maybe if he's not, number one offensive option, but maybe he's an incredible, second star, right? Like maybe that's an outcome for him. Kawhi Leonard and Jason Tatum, those have gotten thrown out just in terms of bigger wings who could score and defend and kind of do it all. And, he's well ahead, at least at the same age of where those guys were. So just in terms of both stats and just you watch them, it's very different trajectories. So it's hard to feel amazing about any of the comps, but I think just the fact that it's those type of names, I think tells you what type of player he could be.
ESPN draft analyst for the NBA, Jeremy Woo, joining us here at 105 through the Fan. All right, so if he's the consensus number one, how close is the gap, or how far is the gap between 1 and 2 overall?
I think it's not insignificant, right? Like anytime there's consensus, people feel better about you than the next guy. But Dylan Harper, I think, is probably number 2 for the majority of people, and I think the Spurs have an interesting decision to make there at number 2. But yeah, Cooper, I think, kind of put the conversation to rest with the way that he played. It was not a sure. I think he was the favorite coming into the season, but then he, with the way Duke was winning, and again the consistency that he brought. I was talking to another person in the NBA about this recently, and it's just like it's almost like he's so good that he's become like boring, and that's a good thing, right?
Yeah.
Like, you're not questioning whether he's going to bring it. You're never worried about that. And even if he has an off shooting game, like he's going to give you a lot of value defensively in other ways. So, very, very unique player.
Jeremy, one of the things that we've talked about, and Brian Windhorst said it last night on ESPN, the idea of, Giannis may be on the trade market. Dallas has always coveted him, and just kind of threw it out there as a fun thing. But is Cooper Flagg the type of talent to you that you say that's not somebody that I would want to package a trade for a veteran superstar? I'd rather have the 15 years potentially of Cooper Flagg than a short window with a top tier player.
Yeah, no, that's not. If it were my job on the line, I would be very happy just to keep Cooper and not not laugh in the face of the luck you just got. I think having a young guy like that, who another thing people say about him often is he's the guy who can be a real culture setter. Now, but a little different going to Dallas, right? I mean, I think it's great for him too, going to a team that wants to win and like badly needs him too. I think that is a great fit for him. So, yeah, it's gonna be really interesting to see what happens. But I think the prospect of going to get a star, I know it's exciting, but my guess is too. After the Luka trade and the fallout from that and the blowback they got, like, I don't know if you can do a move like that twice and feel great about it. So you keep the younger guy and you feel great to have him.
What type of kid is he?
Yeah, I think everyone, I've never heard anyone say a bad thing about him. I think he's very, very focused, very basketball. Basketball is he loves to do it, right? It's like not every kid basketball is like the number 1, number 2, and number 3 hobby. I think Cooper is sort of that kind of kid. And I think it shows, in the work he's put in and how much better he's gotten. So, people say great things about him and the family and everything, and I think it'll be a great fit.
ESPN NBA draft analyst Jeremy Woo joining us here on 105.3 The Fan. Is he a better defensive player than offensive player right now?
I think that's probably accurate.
Defense wins championships, Jeremy.
That's right, it does.
That's what they say, I hear. Yeah, no, but he, defensively, he can really likes to guard, and will guard multiple positions. I don't know if he's going to be necessarily like an all defense level defender, but it doesn't really matter. Like, he's going to be a defensive ad. Offensively, his game is more. It's still developing, right? I mean, his shot has come a long way from high school to now. I think it'll keep improving. He's got to continue to work on beating guys off the dribble and that aspect of it. But that's something I was also. Last night we were hanging out at the hotel after the lottery, and it came up, and it's like, well, with Kyrie out, he might have to handle the ball a lot. Like he might get a lot of on-ball reps, sort of out of the gate for the Mavs. I think that's a good thing, right? Like you want to let these young guys kind of spread their wings and stretch themselves on offense. That's how you grow that side of your game. So I think, not a stretch to say that his offense will catch up. But I think it's also nice to go to a team that has, a guy like Anthony Davis and Kyrie when healthy, and it'll take some of the pressure off of him, right? Like late in the clock, he doesn't have to be that guy, and I think it makes a lot of sense in my head at least.
Jeremy, the deficiencies, weaknesses in his game, what would you say are the big ones?
Yeah, with him, it always feels nitpicky just because he is so good in so many ways. But I think the biggest thing, like I mentioned, it's just the ability to create off the dribble for yourself. If you're going to be a guy in the playoffs who's going to have the ball and create a shot for your team and be the guy, that's kind of like the separating skill, right? No matter what position you are, like you got to be able to create that shot. That's something that Duke asked him to do, and he had some success, he had some failure, but it's good that they asked him to do it, right? And you got to remember, he was 18 for a good chunk of the season. He's one of the youngest players in this class, which is a pretty important separator, right? So to be not only one of the best players in college basketball, but also one of the youngest is very hard to do. So, but I think just being able to continue to build that game out, play one-on-one, hone the jump shot, be able to consistently get to that mid-range and feel comfortable doing it. Like that's the big separator in the playoffs. People are going to give you that shot. So I think just expanding the scoring, and I think he'll do it. I think you're going to see that.
ESPN NBA draft analyst Jeremy Woo joining us here on 105 through the Fan. The Dallas Mavericks winning the lottery. They will have the number 1 pick in the NBA draft. Jeremy, when we talk about different players who have gone number 1 over the years, Victor Wembanyama was considered like, all right, this is a can't miss guy. This is the next big thing. Ben Simmons was considered, hey, he's got the potential. He's got a really high ceiling. There's going to be some stuff that has to develop. There are still some questions there. How would you characterize Cooper Flagg in that sense? Would you say this is a safe pick? Like, is that just a really high floor type of guy, or are there some things there that you are having to project out a little bit that might cause this to go sideways if it doesn't develop?
Yeah, no, I think he is extraordinarily safe as number 1 picks go, in my opinion. I wouldn't put anybody in the Wembanyama conversation. I think that's just like a different beast. And it's not sliding anyone else. I just think there's probably never going to be another guy like that, at least while we're alive. So, but you take him out of it. You dig in, as I did with some of the advanced stats, some of the stuff he was doing, and it sort of puts him right in the conversation with guys like AD and Zion Williamson as sort of those three guys. I think just looking at the overall stats and impact and the winning, like probably had the three best 1-and-done seasons ever, and that's good company, right? So generally, when you're that good and you're that young, it bodes very well for your ability to kind of translate that over time to the NBA. And he's not going to be scared either. Like I think he'll come in. I don't think he's going to be a deer in the headlights when he gets to the league. I think he's going to be ready to go. So I think the floor with him is very, very strong. If he doesn't, well, what we just talked about. If he doesn't become an offensive superstar, that's okay, right? If he doesn't do that, he's still going to be an incredible, winning-oriented guy to have in your team. If he's your second best player, you're still going to be, I think, really good. So to me, I'm very, very much not concerned about the downside with Cooper.
Jeremy, who's 2 and 3 on your big board?
Yeah, so for us, it's Dylan Harper at number 2, and then his Rutgers teammate Ace Bailey. Those guys have been 2 and 3 on our board at ESPN, and I think we'll kind of see how it goes. I think one of the interesting subplots of lottery night is the Spurs getting number 2, the Sixers getting number 3. Those are two teams that want to win. So I don't think we're going to see. I'd be surprised if Dallas trades out, but I think 2 and 3, you could see the possibility of at least they're going to pick up the phone if you call them, right? Maybe trade back, maybe trade out. Will be involved trying to upgrade their teams. So it's so early. I'll have to shake out, but I do think Harper in a vacuum would go number 2 for me, and I think Bailey is a guy with the type of upside that I think Philly would make sense for them. So those two guys, I think it's a pretty strong draft. These are young guys. It's back to 2024. It was a little down. People were not as excited. I think this is back to sort of at least these guys in the very top. Have pretty great upside.
Jeremy, we really appreciate the time. Fantastic article. Thank you, and have fun moving forward, as I'm sure you will.
I appreciate it.